on my other channels. But yeah, it's a lot easier to just go to him and say, use me, and bada bam, he uses you, and everything just starts coming together, and things are actually working together for your good because you're allowing him to use you the way that he has intended for your life, right? So, what does that even mean? Like, because people say that all the time. Oh, let him use you, let it be what it's gonna be. Pray to God and ask him to come into your life, and all of him and none of me. What does that even mean? Like, that's what we about to talk about tonight. What does that even mean? So, all right, I'm ready. I got my comments up. I'm live everywhere. So, tonight from the good book, tonight from the good book, we're going to talk a little bit about Esther. Before I give you these notes on ways that you can get into alignment with God's vision for you, I do want to tell you a little bit about Esther, because this is where I really learned and started to understand what it means to get into alignment. So, you may have heard people say alignment, 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 manifestation, abundance, energy. Like, people use all those words very loosely right now on the internet. They are all very real terms. They are all present in multiple places in the Bible. But alignment is when you are in line with where you are trying to go. So, for example, if you are driving your car and you realize, hey, I'm turning my steering wheel to the right, but my car is going like way to the right, or I'm turning my steering wheel way to the right, and my car is like still going straight, like what's going on? And you take your car to the mechanic and they say, oh, you need a realignment. You need a realignment. So even if you bought your car new or you bought your car used and it was in alignment, over time, after driving your car, sometimes you hit a pothole, sometimes you going a little bit too fast and you run over a rock, or you may hit a deer. We live in the South, so we hit deers by accident all the time. Pray for Bambi and his family. But you may, after driving your car for so long, need an alignment. Your car needs to be realigned so that the way that you're steering is actually the way that your car is going. And it's the same thing with your life, and it's the same thing with your business. You may start out with a clear goal. You're doing everything you need to do to reach that goal. You're going forward. You're driving really well. And along the way, you make mistakes. You get distracted by shiny objects. You go into too many different programs at one time or buy too many courses. You're trying to follow too many different strategies, or maybe you just get with the wrong coach. The coach is not for you. Not to say that they're bad, but you get with the coach that's not really for you. And although you're still driving and you're still intentional about getting to your goal and getting to your end destination, you're out of alignment. And so where you think you're going and where you think you're steering is not necessarily where you're steering. And so it ends up taking you a lot longer to get to your place because you are out of alignment. So every so often, it's really, really important that you sit down and you say to yourself, am I still going in the right direction for what my goal is? And in this scenario, for what we're talking about tonight, am I still going in the right direction for what God has put on my life? Okay. For what God has put on my life. So this is for my people who are not really like in fear. Now, if you are afraid to do what God has called you to do, that's a little bit of a different conversation. But I will say this for you guys who feel like you have prayed to God and said, hey, use me, all of you and none of me. Help me to do your will. Tell me what you want to do in my business. Tell me where I should be going, who I should be helping. Just show me a sign and I can get with the program. If that's you, this is for you. Okay, this is for you. So let's talk about Esther. Esther is a very short book. It's like, how many pages is it? Well, I have a different Bible. I have a leadership Bible, but Esther is 10 chapters. Super, super short. Very short. Okay. Literally, let me show you. This is it. This is her. But she was still that girl. Okay, like do not be mistaken. And just because she only had 10 chapters, that she was not that girl. Okay. Esther became queen, and she was like not at all like the person that you think would become queen. So that may be you, right? Like you may be like, people never saw me as this multi six figure business owner. They never saw me as owning anything, right? They looked at me and they thought she ain't never gonna have nothing. She's never gonna be anything. She's not the smartest in the class. She's not the prettiest in the class. They thought that about you. But there's an upset coming, and God's about to put you in a position that really wasn't even intended for somebody with your past, but it's okay because it's all in His doing. When He chooses you, He chooses you. There are no other requirements that can stop you. No human requirements, right? None. So Esther, she's an orphan. This is what I mean when I say this is the last person you would have thought was going to be a queen. She was an orphan. She was Jewish. And at this time in the Bible, being Jewish really wasn't like a popular thing. It was kind of like, you're Jewish? Like, okay, whatever. But she didn't have any parents. So she really didn't have any examples. The only person she had was her cousin. She had a cousin named Mordecai. And luckily, her cousin was a very good spirit, and he was very in tune with God. And so he helped guide Esther and helped her make the right decisions and all of these kind of things. So Esther, he brought Esther. Well, let me back up. In the kingdom, there was a king and a queen. What was his name? What was his name? King. Come on, King. They just keep calling him the king. We're just going to call him King from now because I can't find his name. But anyways, there was a king and there was a queen. The queen's name is Queen Vashti. I know her name because I was like, wow, you really lost your throne. Like you really lost your throne. So anyways, the king and the queen one day were having a conversation. The king asked the queen to do something. She said, hey, I'm not going to do it. He said, oh, bet. You're no longer my queen. Like, just like that. Y'all know back in those days, it was very like old school. And if your husband asked you to do something, you did it. You didn't question it. You didn't give him no back talk and no lip. Like he's the head of the household. He asked you to do something, do it. And it's not like he asked her to do something crazy, but she just wasn't wanting to listen. So he said, you know what? You don't want to listen. You don't want to play on the same team as me. We're married. Guess what? You're no longer my queen. So the king made an announcement and was like, hey, I'm looking for a queen. Anybody that you feel is qualified to be my queen, bring them to my kingdom, right? So Mordecai, Esther's cousin, said, hey, I'm going to bring you to the kingdom. The king is looking for a queen. I think you got a shot. I'm going to help you out. So there is probably, I think, what's really important, right? We focus on these characters in the Bible, but I think what's even more important is how God always places somebody in that person's life to support them. Like, of course, He's always with you, but the way that we were made, it's almost like He knew that we were self-doubting, and that He knew that because a lot of our blessings are based off of our belief in things that we can't see, He places people in our lives that in a logical way, we're okay with that person helping us, right? We're okay with that person helping us. Like if you guys remember that we talked about Moses had Aaron, which was his brother. And so Esther has Mordecai, which is her cousin, right? Which is her cousin. So I think it's always interesting. We look at these people as heroes and as being a part of these miraculous things, but they have the same. There we go. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but we're going to call him King X. Thank you. We're going to call him King X. Um, but it's just interesting how he always gives you somebody to support you. So if you're feeling like you're not supported, he's probably giving you somebody. You just have to open your eyes to find who that person is that's going to support you. So Mordecai says, hey, I got this. There's this amazing opportunity. Come and, uh, you know, be a part of this process. Because it wasn't just like, oh, I'm a king. I want that. Line them up. I want that girl to be my queen, the end. That wasn't like that. There was a whole process that they went through, and it was actually 12 months. There was a 12-month process for you to become a queen. It wasn't just I'm in love with you, I'm going to marry you, or this is an arranged marriage, let's get married, because that's how they make it seem on TV. But BC, it was not like that. BC before Christ, it was not like that. So at least not in this book. It was a 12-month process. She had to go through a long period of preparation before she could sit on the throne and be called the queen and be given that title and respected. So she went through that process. At around month 10, the king says, okay, I think you're ready. And so they enter into this relationship together as king and queen. So as the story goes, the king asks Esther, what would you like as my queen? What will make you happy? What do you want? And so she has a couple of different things that she asked for. And I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of those as we go through this. But these 4 things are things that you need to do to get in alignment with God's vision for you. And these are things that Esther went through and things that happened to Esther. So it's a great story to learn from. It's a very short book. If you want to go read it yourself, it's a very short book. So it's an easy book to start with if you're not like super familiar, right? You're not super familiar. So the first thing you can do to get into alignment with God's vision for you is position. Esther was a captive Jewish orphan. I forgot to tell y'all that. She was a captive. So she was actually a slave. When I tell y'all God will take the least likely people and put them in a position that you never thought he would put them in, like it's crazy. It's crazy. Do not doubt. Do not take people's past, right? And think you can't do this because of your past. Because those be the people. Those are the people you're chosen. So he put her in a position. She had to position herself. You have to position yourself, right? She didn't look like a queen. She didn't think she could be queen. But Mordecai, her cousin, advised her of what to do, and she trusted him. So you have to open your eyes and become more aware of who God has placed in your life to assist you and to guide you, whether that is a family member, like it was her cousin, and for Moses, it was his brother. It could be a family member. It doesn't have to be a family member, though. It could be a friend. It could be a coach. What I like to base this off of, right? Because sometimes it's hard to tell who your guide is. I like to base this off of a post that I saw the other day, and it put this perfectly. Do not take advice from someone that you would not switch places with. Do not take advice or guidance from someone who you would not switch places with. So look around in your life. Is there somebody in your life that you would gladly switch places with? That may be someone that you need to take guidance with. Okay, that may be someone you need to take guidance with. But have you done everything that you can to get into a position where you can be helped? Have you done everything that you can to get in a position where you can be helped and where you can be groomed for success? Meaning, if you're a business owner, you need a coach. If you work a 9 to 5, you need a mentor. Somebody who's done what you want to do, somebody who's in a better position than you. Have you put yourself in a position where that person can help you? Because that's going to immediately help you get into alignment with God's vision for you. Now, before you do any of these things, you have to ask. You have to ask. Having a relationship with God is very interesting because although he has blessings for you, although he has things in mind to give you, if you still have free will. So if you don't allow him, if you don't humble yourself, if you don't come off of your high horse, if you don't put your ego away to say, I'm open, I'm ready, I'm accepting of help and of guidance, I'm ready to serve, then none of those blessings that are yours are going to come to you. They're still yours. But there are also a lot of places in the Bible, and I'm starting to notice this too as I'm reading through. There are a lot of places in the Bible where God wanted to use someone, and that person was not humble, and he took that person out the game and put somebody else in. So don't think that just because your blessings are yours and they're not somebody else's, that if you don't act right, you can still get what's yours. You still have to fall in line and do what you're supposed to do. You still have to fall in line and do what you're supposed to do. So you have to ask, have you asked God lately? Use me. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to teach in my business? What programs do you think I should release? God, who am I supposed to be helping? Ask for that guidance. Y'all know the saying, do not lean into your own understanding. It does not work out very well. You keep making mistakes, and being like, what's going on? Why is this so hard for me? Why is it so hard for me to get people into my program? Why is it so hard for me to grow my social media audience? How come nobody's engaging with me? Have you asked God to use you? And did you make space in your life to hear the reply? Because it's not just speaking, it's also making space in your schedule to sit and listen, to open your eyes, to meditate, and leave that empty space for you to hear his answers, to be aware, to stop packing out your schedule with all these different activities, which leaves no room for you to even hear an answer. So ask before any of these. But the first one is position yourself. You need to position yourself. Find someone who you would not mind trading places with, that you can get up under for guidance. And it may take you a couple times. Like, you may have the wrong coach. You're not perfect. You may go into the wrong program. That's not the program for you. You may buy the wrong ebook. You may get into a course that's not what you thought it was, or you get into the course and it is what you thought it was, but then when God answers you, it's something completely different. So you have to be willing to change as well. Change is not the end of the world. It's not a dead end. It's a pivot. Okay? It's not a dead end. It's a pivot. So that's number one, position. The second thing you need to do to get in alignment with God's vision for you is to prepare. I have said this like a million times in the last couple of weeks, because it's something that I had to realize about myself. Just because you're good at what you do does not mean that you don't have to prepare. It doesn't mean that. You have to prepare. Esther had to go through a 12-month process before she was even looked at. Before the king even looked at her, she had to go through a 12-month process where they groomed her. They taught her how to act. They taught her how to present herself. They dressed her differently. Okay. And it's not that she was becoming a different person. She was becoming a better version of herself, a better version of who she already was. 12 months. 12 months, y'all, before she was even looked at, to be considered to have that position of influence. So it's not an overnight thing. It's not an overnight thing. How long are you committing to trusting the process? Stop starting stuff and then abandoning it. I used to do that too, starting stuff and then abandoning it. Not anymore. I made a decision to stop. Stop quitting. You're quitting too often, and you're quitting too easily. Too often and too easily. Like, you start and stop and start and stop. And then maybe you start and you make a mistake and you're ready to quit, nothing good comes easy. Y'all know that saying, nothing good comes easy, or nothing worth it. Things always feel like way better when you actually like worked really hard to get them, because you got like some blood, sweat, and tears in it, and it feels so good when you accomplish the thing, like whatever it is. It feels so good when you accomplish the thing. So be open to not only preparing, but realizing that it may be a long process before you even get looked at. But you have to trust the process. You have to trust the process. I have a 6 month program that I just opened up for enrollment, and I had multiple people say 6 months is a little too long. 6 months is a little too long to learn how to make multi six figures working 20 hours a week. It takes that long. It takes longer than that. It took me it took me 18 months to make my first six figures working 60 hours a week. Stop trying to speed up the process. Don't try to speed up the process. It's okay to take your time, not procrastinate. You have to know to set your own pace. You got to realize it's a marathon. So you have to find what pace is right for you, because everyone's not the same. You have to find what pace is right for you, but realize that it does take time to get to these results. These people that you're seeing online that have overnight results, it's not overnight. You just didn't know who they were when they had their head down and they were doing the work. You just didn't know who they were. That was it. They didn't have 1,000, they didn't have 1 million followers. They didn't have tens of thousands of followers, but they had their head down and they did the work and nobody knew their name. So when y'all see them in 12 months, because they Esther right now, but they about to be Queen Esther. You Esther right now, but you about to be Queen Esther. There's an upset coming. Somebody's getting removed from their spot because they didn't want to listen, and you are, so you about to get put in that position. And it doesn't matter what your history looks like. If God says you qualify, you qualified. Period. Period, right? So stop quitting too often and too easy. Prepare. Prepare for what's coming. If you know you want 6-figure years, prepare to have 6-figure years. If you know you want to have sold out group coaching programs, prepare to have sold out group coaching programs. Start working on your process. Start working on making your coaching portal look nice. Start showing up like the person who has a sold out group coaching program. The version of yourself that sells out programs, show up as her for 12 months and see what happens. Show up like her for 6 months and see what happens. Do not underestimate what consistency can do to change your situation. The third thing you can do to get into alignment with God's vision for you is to prioritize. Prioritize. Learn to prioritize. Esther did not abandon her people because she gained influence. So as you guys know, Esther was a Jew. Let's go a little bit more into the story. So Esther was Jewish, and Mordecai was helping her. Remember, Mordecai was helping her, their cousins. One day, Haman, there's a guy named Haman, he comes along. He wants to be buddy-buddy with the king, right? He's like, I want to be buddy-buddy with you, and clicked up. And he sees that Mordecai is in favor and he gets jealous. Y'all got to be careful of jealousy. Just because somebody has something that you wish you had or something that you favor does not mean that you could just treat that person any kind of way. This is where comparison syndrome gets a little dangerous. It's not just I'm in comparison syndrome, so I feel bad when I see somebody else do something successfully that I haven't been able to do yet. They're doing something successfully that you haven't been able to do yet. Keep going. It gets dangerous when you start envying. I'm getting over a cold. Sorry, y'all. It gets dangerous when you start getting upset because somebody else has booked more clients than you. When you start getting upset that somebody else is driving the car that you wish you were driving, when you start getting upset that somebody else is in a healthy relationship and you don't have a healthy relationship, and you start asking yourself, why am I not good enough? Why is she better than me? Why can I have that? It gets dangerous because then it turns into envy. Your comparison syndrome can easily turn into envy. And you don't want to end up like Haman, because let me tell you what happens to Haman. Haman gets jealous of Mordecai, and he goes to the king, and he knows Mordecai is Jewish, and he goes to the king and he says, you know what? We should just get rid of these Jewish people. We should just get rid of all the Jewish people. I think that you should sign into law that we're going to get rid of all the Jewish people because they're just not clean. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? History repeats itself when we don't learn our lessons. Sounds a lot like the Holocaust. And it was literally exactly like that. So Haman goes, and he's a very powerful man, so he is able to do this. The king backs him. Haman goes and signs into law, hey, on this day, next month, it was like a day in December, on this day next month, all of the, I was about to say police, there wasn't no police back then, but all of the horsemen, the knights, whatever y'all want to call them, y'all go out and kill all the Jewish people on this day. You have advance notice, get whatever weapons you need, identify who's Jewish and who's not, yada, yada, yada. On this day, we're going to kill all the Jewish people. His envy took him to that place. And your envy may not take you to a place where you're going to cause a genocide, but it may take you to a place where it becomes a distraction. And that's what comparison syndrome is. It starts to become a distraction. And that's definitely not helping you stay in alignment with your goals. That's taking you a whole nother different route that has nothing to do with what you're supposed to be doing. So Haman does this, and Esther, Mordecai goes to Esther. Mordecai hears about it. He goes to Esther and he says, Esther, you have to go to the king and ask him to spare your people. Her people are Jewish. She's Jewish. You have to ask him to spare your people. This is not right. Of course, Esther's like, wait a second. I'm an orphan. You're my only family. Like I just got here. I just got put in this position as queen, and you're asking me to ask for something really big. Like you're asking me to save an entire race of people. I just got this job. You know how people come to work, and I mean, you know how you get a job and your friend's like, oh, you got a job there? Put me on. And you're like, homie, I just got this job. How am I supposed to put you on and I just got here? Right? How am I supposed to put you on and I just got here? And they're like, no, look out for me. Look out for me. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And so that's how she felt, right? But Esther was very clear, right? Because Esther was very trusting of Mordecai as her guide. She was trusting the process. And she was clear that, hey, just because I've gotten into this position of influence doesn't mean that I should forget about my people, my assignment, the people that God assigned to me. I shouldn't forget about those people. I have to make sure I take care of my people. Am I nervous? Yes. Am I shy? Yes. But these are my people. These are my folks. She prioritized taking care of the people that God gave her as her assignment instead of saying, oh, I got what I want now. I'm good. I was an orphan. Now I'm a queen. I ain't got to do nothing for anybody. She could have said that, but she didn't. And you know what made it easier for her to stick to her assignment was having her guide, was having Mordecai come and say, hey, don't forget, these are your people. This is very important. You need to save the Jewish race. right? So ask yourself, what measures do you have in place to keep you focused? What measures do you have in place to keep you focused on what you're supposed to be doing? A lot of us have shiny object syndrome. Oh, I want to do this. Oh, I see such and such doing that. Oh, I see such and such doing that. Or even more, right? This is really what happens. We go into comparison syndrome and it becomes, oh, I'm going to go do this because such and such with $100,000 in her pocket is doing this. So I'm going to go do what she's doing. You're getting distracted. Is that what your guy told you was a good idea to do? Is that what your coach told you was a good idea to do? Probably not. Probably not. You set out to help whoever it was that you set out to help that's your ideal client. Like you set out to help single moms. You set out to help 9-to-5ers. You said you were going to help high achieving women who are underworked and underpaid. You said you were going to help nurses that are overworking transition into easier job where they can focus on caring for people, because that's why they became a nurse. They really want to care for people. They don't want to be stressed, right? You said those were your people. You created all this content around them. You showed up. You did all these lives for a couple of weeks. You started building this email list. And now you see so-and-so with 10,000 followers and you want to change your whole message. And you want to change your whole ideal client. And you want to change your whole program just because you saw such and such. Whoever. I don't even know. Y'all know. You know who your person is that you're envying right now. You want to change it because you saw such and such doing something and it looks like it's working. Let me try that. That's not your assignment. You going left. Did you talk to your coach about it? Did you talk to your therapist about it? Did you talk to your mentor about it first? Talk to your guide first, please. Please. Talk to the person that you hired to guide you, because that's what you hired them for. You're paying them to help you stay on track. Let us do our jobs, right? You let us do our jobs, please. We want the best for you. We want the best for you. So prioritize. The fourth thing you need to do to get into alignment with God's vision for you is to persist. Persist. Keep going. Keep doing it. Keep at it. It's going to come, but you have to keep doing it, right? There's going to be a time when you are called by God to do something that you think is going to compromise your position of power. Has God ever called you to do something? I'm not going to say God. I like to say the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit is like your internal GPS, and it's like that little voice in the back of your head, and we can all easily identify. Yeah, I thought I was supposed to do that thing. I felt like I was supposed to do that thing. My intuition told me to do that thing. That's your internal GPS. That's the Holy Spirit. You didn't listen to your intuition. Start listening to your intuition, please. Start listening to your intuition. Because there's going to be a time when you're called to do something and it's going to compromise your position of power. You may build a whole audience and God says, those aren't your people. These are your people over here. And you're like, but I don't know if I want to redo everything because I might lose the followers that I have. But your blessing's over here, not over there. You may have to start over. You may have to change your program. Right? Now, this is all in accordance to your intuition and your relationship with God. So that is why it's important for you to take time daily to meditate, even if it's just 15 minutes, and have a conversation with God and listen to, just don't talk, don't have on no music, nothing in the background. If you got kids, go lock yourself in the closet or the bathroom, or wait till they go to sleep. All right? Because it's important for you to take that 15 minutes a day, because that's going to strengthen your intuition. If your intuition is weak, everything I just listed is going to be very hard for you. to position yourself, to prepare yourself, to prioritize your activities and where you spend your energy and to persist. It's going to be very, very hard to use those things to get into alignment with God's vision for you if you don't even know what God's vision for you is, because you don't have a personal relationship. So you have to make that time. I even went through a fast. I just finished a 30-day fast because I needed to strengthen my intuition. I need to be able to hear. I couldn't hear what God was telling me to do because I was prioritizing food. Any free second of the day I had, I was eating. Y'all ever eat out of boredom? Just like, I'm gonna go reach for a snack, I'm bored. And it's something that we just do and we don't really think about it, right? I was filling all of my empty space during the day with snacking instead of filling it with conversations with God so that I can get to my $1 million year quicker. And my people. Both, right? Because we all know the better of a helper you are, the more you serve, the more you will attract abundance. But I'm over here ordering DoorDash because I'm bored. So I had to cut all that out. I had no DoorDash the entire month of August. And I went on a fast because I needed to break my addiction to food. I literally had an addiction to DoorDash, y'all. An addiction to Starbucks. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Don't lie and say, I'm not addicted. I could stop anytime. That's what drug addicts say. Y'all know that, right? If y'all are here and you're like, I could stop ordering DoorDash anytime. I could stop going to Starbucks for a week. Stop going to Starbucks for a week. Show me. You probably ain't gonna be in there having caffeine withdrawals because caffeine withdrawals is a real thing. It's a real thing. So for me, it was food. For you, it may be something else. It may be something else for you, but you need to start eliminating the things that you are subconsciously filling your day with just because there's empty space. That's going to give you the opportunity to build the relationship and strengthen your intuition. Okay? That's going to give you that. But there's going to be a time when you're called to do something that you think is going to compromise your position of power. And that's what Esther thought. She thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to ask the king to save all the Jewish people, and he's going to throw me off the throne and pick another queen because he just did it. It's a test, right? Now you are going to be tested. Don't think you could just, I'm going to do all this stuff that Kelly said. I'm going to go read Esther in the Bible, and yeah, that's going to be it. I'm never going to be tested. You're always going to be tested. And if you think it's a test, it's a test. If you think it's a test, it's a test. Just go ahead and assume that it is a test and pass it. Be willing to sacrifice. This is going to be real good. Yes, this is the entire book of Esther. It's very short, but it's the entire book of Esther. Esther. Be willing to sacrifice what God gave you, because if he gave it to you once, he can give it to you again. Remember how I just said my addiction, my thing that I was filling space with was food? Yours may be something else. It may be shopping. It may be Amazon. I'm bored, so I want to order something on Amazon. If I have something coming to my house every day for Amazon or every other day from Amazon, then I don't have to think about anything else other than what's coming from Amazon. Because that's exciting for me and I like opening up packages. You're filling your space with other things. When it comes to sacrifices, because one of my favorite things, one of my favorite sayings that I always say when I get on live is that your your reward is given in proportion to your sacrifice. It's correlated. So if you sacrifice this much, then your reward will be this much. If you sacrifice this much, your reward will be this much. Like those two things are related. You can't sacrifice this much and expect this type of reward. It's the thing, same thing with sowing and reaping. Don't go plant 3 seeds and come back expecting to have 20 apple trees in 3 days. It don't work like that. Fruit trees actually take a very long time to grow, by the way. And I'm pretty sure God did that on purpose. Um, because if you want to live a very fruitful life, you're going to have to plant seeds consistently for quite some time and take care of those plants and put in a lot of work in order to get some fruit. So I'm pretty sure he designed that for a reason to be that way. Literally, like years. Literally years. But don't expect 3 seeds and think you're going to come back to a field full of whatever you thought you were going to get. You're going to come back to 3 plants of whatever you planted. Like, you're going to come back to 3 plants. But be willing to sacrifice what God gave you, because if he gave it to you once, he can give it to you again. That applies to money, and that applies to time. You holding on to money is not doing you any good. If you see someone that you would not mind trading places with, and you've prayed and said, God, what do you want me to do? And God has showed you some type of a sign, or you're hearing something in your intuition that is saying, go this direction, and you get into a program or whatever, you hire a coach or you get a mentor. I keep saying paid because when you pay, it's going to be better than free. So why even just skip over the free part? But do your research. Do your research, because everybody that looks like a Mordecai ain't a Mordecai, and everybody that looks like a Moses is not a Moses, and everybody who looks like an Aaron is not an Aaron. So do your research. Don't say Kelly told me to just go hire any coach, because I did not. You have to protect your vision because it's yours, not anybody else's. People shouldn't get over on other people, but everybody is not reading the Bible and everybody's not on live with us right now. So you have to protect your vision because it's yours. But you holding on to money because you feel like you're not going to get it back, that's what you're holding on to it for. If you're holding on to a whole lot of money, it's because you feel like you're not going to get it back. Now, you should have savings, of course, like 3, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever you want it to be. You should have a set amount of savings where you said, I want to have this much savings saved up just in case something happens. Anything outside of that, you're self-sabotaging. You should be spending it. You should be spending it, or you should be spending other people's money. OPM. Is there anybody in here who does credit? Anybody in here who does credit, business or personal? They'll tell you. Anybody? Drop it in the chat. Hey, I do credit. I do business credit. I do personal credit. They'll tell you to spend other people's money, and you should. If you have access to it, you definitely should, because it'll come back to you if you actually spend it wisely, right? If you spend it in the right way. But holding on to it's not going to do anything for you. You saying, oh, I'm saving this $500 to go on a trip to Vegas. Spend it on something that's going to help you make it back 2, 3 times, 4 times over. You're scared to let it go as a sacrifice, but if he gave it to you once, he can give it to you again, and he can give it to you multiplied. If you are asking him to use you and you're listening to your guide, it'll come back to you. So Esther followed orders, right? She went to the king. She said, hey, can you save my people? Can you save my people? She trusted her guide. She trusted Mordecai to guide her. And what eventually happened, I'm going to sum this story up, but what eventually happened is that Haman, the guy who was like, hey, we're going to kill all the Jewish people because I'm jealous of Mordecai, he ended up dying. So when Esther, let me explain because I just kind of that up. Esther went to the king, said, hey, Can you save my people? Haman has said that he's going to kill all the Jews, blah, 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 blah. The king says to the people, hey, I know that there's been this decree that was sent out that all of the Jewish people are going to be killed on this day. I am giving you permission to take up for yourselves in self-defense. And if somebody tries to kill you, you are legally allowed to kill them on this day. On that one day, you are legally allowed to kill someone if they're trying to kill you. You're Jewish. So there was a lot of death. A lot of people died. The king came back to Esther and asked her again, what do you want? You're my queen. Anything you want, riches, food, whatever you want, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. Okay. And she asked for her people to be protected. She asked for her people to be protected. The king later found out that Haman was the person who orchestrated all of this, and he had Haman killed. So then there's a little bit of things that I left out. Like, for example, and you can go read it. But for example, Haman had Mordecai embarrassed. Like, he had someone take Mordecai around the village and make him look like a fool. And literally, shortly later, Haman was then taken around the village and made to look like a fool. And he died on the same gallows that he had set up for Mordecai. There is somebody in your life, whether past or present, they have tried to set you up and they ended up messing their own stuff up because they were so envious and so jealous and so focused on trying to deter you that they ended up doing themselves in. And that's what happened to Haman. Not only was Haman killed, he had 10 sons. All 10 of his sons were killed. His entire lineage was destroyed because he allowed his jealousy and his envy to get the best of him. When you have comparison syndrome, and instead of you focusing on yourself and your mission and what you set out to do and what God wants you to do, if you end up spending all of your time scrolling on social media, looking at what other people are doing, being envious of the cars that people drive, being envious of the clothes that people wear, wishing that you look like them, that you had your body done, that you could fit into the same clothes, you are destroying your lineage. You're destroying your lineage. Because instead of focusing on what God has called you to do, and instead of asking him to use you so that you can live a prosperous and abundant life, you're distracted. And your legacy is not being built because you're not focused. Here's the kicker. This is what threw me over the edge when I read this story. Here's what threw me over the edge. Esther, the book of Esther, if you go read it, you'll notice that it is before Jesus is born, right? It's towards the middle of the Bible. It's before Jesus was born. Esther is in direct lineage with Jesus, meaning because Jesus was Jewish, Mordecai was Jewish, Esther was Jewish, right? Esther is in direct lineage with Jesus, meaning if she had decided at any point in this book that she was not going to listen to her guide, that she was going to abandon the people that she once belonged to, if she had once decided in this story that she was just too good, now that she was queen, if she decided that she felt like she didn't owe anybody anything, Jesus would have never been born, because she would not have asked the king to save the Jewish people, and all the Jewish people would have died on that day, and there would have been no lineage for Jesus to enter the picture. Your lineage is on the line. We're talking about business. It seems very lighthearted, but if you are a coach and you feel like this is what you are supposed to be doing and you get fulfillment out of this and you enjoy helping people and your intuition is tied to what you do, your intuition is tied to what you do as a coach, and you are really serving, you got to start taking this more seriously because this is your legacy and this is your lineage. You have no idea what's coming down the line. Esther had no idea. Jesus wasn't even thought of, not by the people, God knew, but they had no idea that Jesus was even going to come. They didn't have a Bible that said, oh, there was this man named Jesus and yada, 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 yada. They didn't have this. So they had no idea what was coming. But because she listened to her guy and didn't fall victim to her ego and persisted through the process and prepared for 12 months, she protected the lineage of Jesus. So you got to be careful because this is not just about you. It's really about your clients, right? It's really about your people. You are a tool. You're somebody's person, and that person's going to take care of you. This is why all coaches should have a coach. Coaches, you have your clients. Those are your assignment. You take care of them. You go to bat for them. You create resources for them. You show up every single week for them. You create these programs to help your people thrive. If you keep doing that, keep doing that, and you don't have a coach, you're pouring, and nobody's pouring into you. You have to get a coach. You are somebody's person, whether you got one right now or not. You are somebody's person. You are somebody's assignment. You have to find your Mordecai. Because there's a lineage coming. And right now, everything you do every single day is either making or not making your legacy. You think that pausing is not making a decision. You think that not moving forward is not making a decision. You think that not enrolling in the coaching program that you know you need is not making a decision. You think that you can just hold off and be indecisive. Indecisive is a decision. Not enrolling or thinking about enrolling and not enrolling, that is a decision. Not showing up on social media when you know that social media is a massive tool that can help you reach a bigger audience, that's a decision. So every single day, whether you know it or not, you are making decisions that are either building your legacy or not building your legacy. You have to be careful. I take this seriously. Coaching, I take it seriously. I love it. I goof around. I have fun. I love my people. It's all fun. But I take it as my job, as my career, as my God-given skill and ability and strength. I take it very seriously. I prepare. I have coaches. I got multiple. I read books. Y'all see books behind me. I read the Bible. I meditate every day. This is not just I woke up one day and I decided to be a coach. And if you woke up one day and decided to be a coach, start taking it seriously. Right? This is, I'm in this. I'm committed. If you're going to do it all the way. Whatever you do, do it in excellence. Do it in excellence. I'm not halfway playing. I'm not halfway showing up. If I'm going to take the time to show up, I'm going to give it my all. So she persisted. You don't know what's coming. You don't know what's coming. Your great-great-great-grandmother, they had no idea you was going to be a coach. Our great-great-grandparents were slaves. They had no idea we were going to own houses. They had no idea that we were going to be free. We're just talking about 400 years ago. Like, I'm sorry, not 400 years ago. We're talking about literally 100 to 150 years ago. That is not that long ago that our great great grandparents were slaves and had no idea that we were going to have the freedoms that we had. But the decisions that they made every single day created a pathway for us to do what we can do now. So imagine if you positioned yourself, prepared, prioritized, and persisted, if you did all four of these things that you need to do to get into alignment with God, imagine what kind of world you are creating for your great great grandchildren. Don't leave it up to chance. Don't leave it up to chance. That's not even right. Okay. Don't worry about so and so with 10,000 followers and 20,000 followers and 100,000 followers that got their body done and drive a G Wagon and lives in a nice house. God's going to make room for you. If he has to dethrone somebody to do it, he's going to do it, but he's going to make room for you. Maybe that's not your calling. You're envying somebody who is answering their calling. That's not your calling. When you try to imitate other people, you miss your blessings because your blessings are meant for you, not for them. A couple more points before I go. You must be willing to give up to go up. We talk about sacrifice every single day when I go live. You must be willing to give up to go up. Give it up. What you got right now, you can't take with you. Sorry. What you have right now, you can't take with you. Who you are is not who you need to be in order to be where you're going. You're going to have to let go of some things to be the person that you need to be. Okay? So, when you keep your eyes focused on your assignment, your enemies will be handled. Don't even worry it. That's God's light work. Don't even worry. Right? Like, I don't even get mad at people no more. I just know God's going to handle it. Period. Why am I getting mad? That's a misuse of my energy. The energy that it takes me to get mad, I could be using that energy for something else. Let God handle it. You worry about you and focus on you because you don't want to miss something. You don't want to miss something. You don't want to miss your turn, right? You don't want to miss your turn. All right. That's all I have for y'all tonight. I'm going to add this into the replay. If y'all have any questions, feel free to send me a direct message. Systems and Sales Academy is open for enrollment. The applications are open. I'll let you guys start enrolling once we review the applications, but the applications are open for enrollment. So you can click the link in my bio and go ahead and apply. Systems and Sales Academy is designed for service-based business owners and coaches who want to double their clients in 8 weeks. If you want to double the amount of clients you have in 8 weeks, and you are committed and ready to do the work, I'll guide you through it. But if you're committed and ready to do the work, click the link in my bio to apply. If you're on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, you can just send me a direct message on Instagram at The Spoiled Coach, and I will give you the link there. All right. The applications are open. Go ahead and apply. Don't be afraid that you have to apply to get in. I just want to make sure that you're in the right position because the program's not for everybody. It's for a specific type of person who is positioned, right? Positioned for success. So if you know you want to double your clients in 8 weeks or less, go ahead, fill that application out, and we'll be accepting those and letting people enroll for the next cohort that starts in October, beginning of October. All right. See y'all later.